After I made my way into Chicago on Metra's Union Pacific West Line, I exited Ogilvy Transportation Center and found my way across the very snowy loop to my hostel, which I had a full room this time. But after that, it was time to head out for a ride on Metra's Electric District. Carrying on the tradition of over-designed, barely tolerable stations for the line as it runs today falls to Millennium Station. Sitting around Metra's lounge feels like we're set as counterpieces in a tiled kitchen. This is the ultimate economy version of passenger waiting space in Chicago. Nothing that could possibly count as an amenity here is anything other than utilitarian. Track numbers can be based on the destination of the train one intends to take here. On this very early January evening, it was clear that train frequency was minimal, mostly owing to our outbound destination of Homewood on a very snowy Saturday of service. Trains are the Nippon Sharyo Highliner 2s. They carry the form of the Pullman gallery cars found elsewhere across Metra territory. This is Metra's only electrified line as of early 2026. It achieved electrification a century ago after the line was raised and lowered from grades across the route.
Making stops at Van Buren Street, Museum Campus, 11th Street, McCormick Place, 51st, 53rd Street, Hyde Park, 55th, 27th Street, 47th Street, Homewood, 63rd.
As a result, these gallery cars have noticeably little differences on board, with the most notable exceptions being their stations board at high level, and the cars are propelled by onboard electric motors. This line leaves Chicago on a route that has a lot of historic background, despite seeming to just be entrenched for the first part of the trip. Millennium Station concealed most of the departing scenes, but it's a little more scenic approaching Van Buren. The expanse of tracks across this line feels appropriate for a historic main line. Metra Electric started off in 1856 as the Illinois Central Railroad's main line from Great Central Station to Hyde Park.
Making all stops, University Park, 1827-47, 63rd, made by request only. You passengers needing any of those stops, notify me at this time when the train will not stop, and 2 cars were exiting 1827-47. Next stop is 11th Street, Museum Campus. Please have all tickets unavailable. Have your apps up and running.
Initially built onto a trestle right on Lake Michigan, bordering the shoreline, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 would see the resulting rubble from buildings establish a new outcropping of land in the city as Grant Park and the right-of-way of the Illinois Central. This allowed IC commuter trains to reach South Chicago and Blue Island by the early 1880s. Central Station would be built by the end of the 19th century, and Randolph Street Terminal taking its place. The Illinois Central was Chicago's link to the state's exurban and rural backbone. Freight operations are still prevalent today under Canadian National ownership further down the line, but passenger service has run an impressively long run on this north-south route across the state. Beginning in Chicago and its surrounding suburbs, IC trains connected big city and rural Illinois across a century prior to folding to commuter services by the last decades of the 20th century.
Next stop, 18th Street, flag stop. Attention passengers, please have your mobile app open and tickets ready as conductors come through. Riders traveling outside their zones must purchase a new ticket for the correct zone. Thank you. Now approaching 18th Street, flag stop.
Today, Amtrak still runs Illini, Saluki, and the city of New Orleans as daily services across this historic corridor. Those trains enter the IC mainline right-of-way after a historic junction with the St. Charles Airline, one I recall taking in my first Amtrak trip back in 2009 aboard the city of New Orleans. From a dining car, I was pulled down another track on this line than we are traveling today.
47th Street is next, at 2 cars for exiting.
January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Get a free educational magnet at all downtown stations on Tuesday, January 27th, from 6:30 to 9 a.m., while supplies last. Your safety is the highest priority. You can help us by being observant of your surroundings. Please report any suspicious behavior or items in your train crew. If you see something, say something. Together we can make us all more secure.
Today's Metra Electric District remains much as it was in its days of Illinois Central operation. Stations have in the past decades seen notable improvements to select stations, with others remaining almost as they were many decades ago. The neighborhoods through which Metra stations are aligned with the electrified main line, South Chicago and Blue Island branches, have seen continual change to the demographics of these communities and the demands of modern commuters. As the neighborhoods stand in 2026, more attention by transit planners has fallen on the CTA's Red Line extension further to the west than on to other plans to fold the electric district and its branches into a more unified, color-coded regional network. The wide right-of-way indicates the importance to high-volume operations this line used to and still could serve in the future. Today it represents Canadian National's staked interest in freight hauling across America's midsection. From ports on the Great Lakes and south into downstate Illinois, IC-hauled commodities continue to be moved on this line alongside commuters in a balance of rail business that many railroads in North America have long given up on.
55th, 56th, 57th Street. Now approaching 55th, 56th, 57th Street.
Much of this route from the left side of the train we're on obscures the structure of intermediate stations from our view. From what I've seen on Wikipedia and other YouTube videos, they're utilitarian with some modern influences creeping in for the redesigned stations of the last decades. But they conform to Metra's station standards for the electric district, as scattered in appearance as those tend to be these days. There's also a lot of flag stops on this line. I would guess the Metra Electric District must win on having the most of any of its lines, but I could be wrong. An old flexibility in the schedule that might be superseded in more modern systems due to the complexity of having to remember where to get on and off the train can be for some modern passengers. This line is more historic than scenic from a standard tourist perspective. But for rail fans, there's a lot to appreciate about the old IC main line.
3rd Street is next, at 2 cars for exiting.
It's been a tolerable way to get from the south side to downtown for millions of Chicago residents over the years. As the suburbs have come up and more folks don't need to go downtown for work every day, Metra has attempted to reignite demand for this line.
2 cars for exiting.
A pilot project in recent years lowering fares to draw attention to the connections that can be made from the electric district has come and gone. Many have called for the CTA to extend the Green Line L from Cottage Grove to a new station nearby the electric district, but all money is attempting to go first to the Red Line's southern extension. The L remains a much more efficient way of getting folks across the city due to how much of an outlier Millennium Station remains in the eyes of commuters.
Chesterfield flag stop.
Under the park, requiring a walk to the subway, L, or bus services, unless you're looking to go to specific cities in northwest Indiana, the notoriety of the CTA and Amtrak in Chicagoland with all their possible connections are restraining the electric district to an outlier commuter service.
Said 2 cars for exiting.
But it's still a viable option for downtown events in the standard litmus test for North American public transit usability these days. It's a much more efficient means of operating trains on this line in terms of their electric versus diesel operation for Metra, but their investments in diesel locomotives on other lines tells the tale of where Metra's focus is these days.
Next said 2 cars for exiting.
Now approaching 111th Street, Pullman.
If you need a ride to downtown and you live in this corridor of South Side communities and suburbs such as Harvey and Homewood, you can catch the Electric District and enjoy a well-paced schedule on your way into any number of stations in Chicago's Central Business District, which, counting how sprawled it has become to McCormick, is a nice swath of station options across a downtown that runs as stretched north-south as this old IC mainline feels on tonight's trip out to the suburbs.
Now approaching Kensington. This train may be operating 8 minutes behind schedule. Next stop, Riverdale. Approaching Riverdale. Now approaching Hazel Crest.
Our trip out to Homewood is slightly memorable for me as being the first time I've been on the platform that I saw during my first Amtrak station stop aboard the City of New Orleans almost 2 decades ago. The Amtrak platform is to the left of our train, while the historic Illinois Central station is to the right. Once alighted, we're bound the opposite way of the historic station for a meal in a now more historic suburban Chicago locale. The most recent addition to papal history in the Catholic Church, Pope Leo, was said to have been a regular enough patron of this classic Southside Italian family restaurant to have his own table, and a pepperoni pizza named for His Holiness. But today I was in the mood for an antipasto. The server seemed questionable as to why I wasn't going to order a pizza. I had walked around in the snow all day, but I still wasn't that hungry. The cannoli was amazing for dessert.
That pizza place really has a thing for Pope Leo, taking him as a pizza to a whole new level. There you go. It was a good antipasto salad. Oh, that cannoli. Oh my God. I don't eat a lot of cannoli. They're usually always good. Now here's a place we have not been in quite a while, the Dixie Highway. I also noticed this morning, that they had the same kind of embedded tiles in the sidewalks stating which street you're about to walk across, just like they do in New Orleans. This is an ingenious solution to what are we going to do with the old newspaper things. Everywhere I go today, I'm coming back to my own trudgery in the snow. This is the design of many of the more modern Metra Electric stations. Pretty fresh too. Yeah, and it's technically an Amtrak station as well. I don't know which one this categorizes more as. It's just Homewood. Such a strangely long path for accessibility. And if you thought the Jackson transfer was too weird, well, the Homewood transfer is weirder. How do tall people do this? It's like just over 6 feet. Whew. And then we have the Amtrak area. I mean, it's pretty nicely designed. Oh, wait. Oh, well, yeah. Amtrak people have to go up those stairs and wait in their own heated or non-heated area. I can't tell which. I'm not on an Amtrak train today. If that was the original station, it would be really good if it still was. Well, I found the warm room and there's snacks. Yeah, 12 minutes till the train to Millennium.
My return ride on the Electric District was even darker and just basically the same thing as I saw on the way down. But the next day I did have some time to go out before I headed back on the Empire Builder, and I saw some of the new updates to Red Line stations on the north side. Look for that in a future video. I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, that's worth it. That's cool.